Have you ever wondered why the things you chase so desperately often seem to run even faster away from you? Why is it that the harder you try to grasp something, the more it slips through your fingers like sand? And could it be that the secret to success is not in clinging, but in releasing? These questions hold the key to one of life's most fascinating paradoxes. The more we obsess over an outcome, the more elusive it becomes. But when we ease our grip, surrender to the present and let go of expectations, something remarkable happens. What we once chased begins to find its way to us. This principle is not just poetic, it's a foundational truth in Zen and Buddhist philosophy. Attachment to results can quietly become the very thing that blocks our path forward. By surrendering control, we open ourselves to a world of possibility far beyond our calculated plans. As one ancient saying goes, "He who clutches tightly loses what he seeks, while he who opens his hands receives without asking." This timeless teaching forms the heart of the story you're about to hear, a tale of longing, surrender, and the subtle yet profound power of letting go. Long ago, nestled in a tranquil forest surrounded by towering cliffs, there lived a young monk determined to find enlightenment. He was earnest and hardworking, pouring every ounce of effort into perfecting his meditation. Day after day, he sat for hours, trying to silence his thoughts and reach the deep truths of existence. And yet, no matter how hard he tried, peace remained out of reach. One afternoon, as he meditated near a cascading waterfall, he noticed something that stopped him cold: the effortless flow of the water. It did not fight or force its way down the rocks. It simply followed gravity's pull and allowed the journey to unfold. Struck by this quiet wisdom of nature, the monk felt something stir within him. Everything around him, the trees, the stream, even the breeze, seemed to move in harmony without striving. But knowing this wasn't enough. He still wanted results. He began meditating with even more intensity, forcing his breath to slow, his mind to go still, and his thoughts to vanish. But the harder he tried, the more restless he became. One evening, his master sat beside him and gently said, "Your mind is like a clenched fist. The tighter you hold it, the more strength you waste, and the less you achieve." Then the master asked, "Would you like to hear a story about the art of letting go?" The monk nodded eagerly, and so the master began. There was once a farmer suffering from a long drought. Each day he prayed for rain, dug trenches in desperation, and lamented his dry, withered fields. Then one day, a wandering sage passed by and said, "Stop chasing the rain, tend to the soil, nourish the seeds, let the sky decide." Though doubtful, the farmer followed the advice. He turned his focus to caring for the earth, and without warning, the rains came. His crops flourished. The farmer asked, "Why now?" And the sage replied, "When you stop grasping at the sky, you make space for miracles to descend." The master turned to the young monk and said, "Stop chasing peace like the farmer chased the rain. Instead, tend to your practice without expecting reward. Peace will come, but not through force." The monk was deeply moved by the tale. From that moment, he vowed to release his obsession with outcomes and embrace the gentle art of non-attachment. But, as he would soon discover, letting go was not as easy as it sounded. Though the monk had been inspired by the story of the farmer and the rain, putting the wisdom of non-attachment into practice was an entirely different challenge. He found himself locked in a quiet inner battle, constantly questioning, Am I letting go enough? Despite the master's guidance, doubt would creep in. Restlessness would rise. His old habits of chasing results kept trying to take over. And yet, deep inside, he sensed a subtle truth. Transformation takes time. Real change does not come from force, but from patience and quiet trust in the process. One afternoon, while sweeping the courtyard near the meditation hall, the monk noticed a butterfly struggling to emerge from its cocoon. Its delicate wings trembled as it fought against the narrow opening. Moved by compassion, the monk leaned forward, ready to help. But before his fingers could reach, his master appeared and gently stopped him. "If you interfere," the master said softly, "the butterfly will never build the strength it needs to fly. Let it struggle. It is the struggle that gives it the wings to soar." The words landed deeply in the monk's heart. In that small creature's battle, he saw a reflection of his own journey. He suddenly understood. He could not rush the unfolding of enlightenment. Like the butterfly, his awakening had to emerge from within, and only through its own struggle. From that moment, the monk slowly began to release his grip on expectations. He no longer meditated with the singular goal of reaching peace. Instead, he meditated simply to be, to breathe, to sit, to dwell in the moment. He let go of chasing perfection and allowed himself to be, at times, beautifully imperfect. At first, nothing seemed different, but gradually, gentle shifts began to reveal themselves. His breath deepened, his mind quieted, his heart grew lighter. He stopped measuring his progress, no longer needing to feel like he was getting somewhere. He simply sat, like the waterfall he once admired, flowing without trying, moving without resistance. And then, one day, it happened. As I sat in stillness beneath the trees, something remarkable stirred within him. It was as though the entire forest had entered him, or perhaps he had melted into it. The division between him and the world disappeared, and in that spacious silence, a simple but powerful realization arose. Peace was never something to be found. It had always been there, quietly waiting to be uncovered. When the monk shared this experience with the master, the old man smiled with knowing eyes. "What you have discovered," he said, "is the fruit of non-attachment. When you stopped chasing peace, you made space for it to bloom. Remember this: the journey is always more important than the destination. When you surrender to the path, you walk in rhythm with life itself." The monk asked, "But Master, why does caring block the results?" The elder replied, "Caring is not the problem, clinging is. When you grip too tightly to any outcome, you create tension, and tension is the enemy of clarity." He gestured to the water basin nearby. "Try to hold water in your fist, and it slips away. But cup your hands gently, and it stays. Life flows the same way. Trust the flow, and it will carry you where you need to go." To deepen the lesson, the master shared another story. There was once a young archer, desperate to master his aim. He practiced day and night, eyes fixed on the bullseye, but his arrows often missed. One day, an older archer watched and said, "You try too hard. That's your flaw. Relax your grip, steady your breath, and let the arrow fly without fear." Though skeptical, the young archer listened, and to his surprise, his aim improved. The secret wasn't in trying harder, it was in letting go. He paused, then concluded, "Tension clouds clarity. But surrender sharpens your focus." These teachings took root in the young monk's heart. He began to apply them not only in meditation, but in every corner of his life. When he worked in the temple garden, he stopped hoping for flowers to bloom. Instead, he found joy in simply planting. When he taught younger monks, he no longer worried whether they succeeded. He gave fully and let go. And over time, he understood. Letting go was not about giving up. It was about showing up fully, without clinging to the results. From that inner shift, from chasing results to embracing the present, a new sense of freedom and fulfillment blossomed within the monk. It was a feeling he had never known before, light, grounded, and quietly joyful. Word of his transformation began to ripple through the temple like wind through bamboo. Other monks took notice, not just of his serenity, but of the calm energy that seemed to follow him wherever he went. They grew curious, drawn to the peaceful clarity in his eyes. Some approached him privately, hoping to understand the secret behind his newfound stillness. To each of them, the elder monk would gently say, "The more you chase results, the more they slip away. Instead, focus on this moment. Be present. Trust that life will unfold at its own pace." He often repeated the parable of the farmer who stopped chasing the rain. Don't beg the sky. Tend to your soil. Nourish what is within. The harvest will come, but not because you demanded it. The monk's personal journey of surrender had become more than just his own awakening. It had become a beacon for others. As he began sharing his insights with those around him, he witnessed a quiet transformation take root in their lives as well. Those who dared to let go, who loosened their grip on rigid outcomes, began to experience a surprising flow in their days. Challenges felt lighter. Joys appeared without being chased. Even successes began to arrive, unforced and unexpected. Then, one afternoon, a younger monk came forward with a thoughtful question. "If letting go brings results," he asked, "does that mean we should stop setting goals altogether? Should we just stop striving for anything?" The elder monk smiled with warmth. "Not at all," he said. "Goals are like stars in the night sky. They offer us direction, but they are not destinations we must reach. Letting go doesn't mean giving up your dreams. It means releasing your attachment to how they must unfold." He paused, then added, "What truly matters is how you walk the path, not how quickly you arrive. When you let go of control and walk with trust, clarity, and presence, that's where the real transformation begins." To explain further, the monk offered a beautiful metaphor. Life is like a dance. If you focus only on the final pose, you miss the beauty of the movement. A dancer does not hurry to finish. They savor each step, each turn, trusting the rhythm of the music to guide them. He looked into the eyes of the younger monk. In the same way, when you stop obsessing over the outcome, you allow yourself to enjoy the process, and often the results appear more gracefully than you ever imagined, like a melody finding its perfect harmony. The younger monk nodded slowly, the image of dancing lingering in his thoughts. But he, like many others, still struggled with one difficult question. How do you let go when something matters so deeply? This was the challenge that surfaced again and again. Many who came to the elder monk voiced the same concern. "If I stop holding on so tightly," they'd ask, "won't I lose it? Doesn't letting go mean I stop caring?" And the monk would gently clarify, "Letting go is not the same as not caring. It is the release of attachment, not of love. It's natural to care deeply. That is beautiful. But when care turns into fear, into control, into obsession, it becomes a chain. He would often remind them, "You cannot calm turbulent waters by slapping at them. Let the water settle. Only then will it become clear." To bring this wisdom to life, the elder monk once devised a quiet test. He placed a large bowl of water on the ground and gently laid a single flower petal on its surface. Then he turned to his students and said, "Retrieve the petal without spilling a single drop." The first student lunged forward, confident and forceful. His hand plunged in, sending water sloshing over the sides. The petal, disturbed by the splash, sank. The second student approached more carefully. He used his fingertips, slowly reaching for the petal, but his hand trembled with hesitation, and even that slight ripple sent the petal drifting and sinking again. Finally, the elder monk lifted the bowl himself. He tilted it slowly, allowing the water to move on its own. The petal glided gently toward the edge, where he simply picked it up without a single drop spilled. "This," he said quietly, holding the petal, "is the art of letting go. When you force, you disturb the balance. But when you act in harmony, with patience and trust, the result comes to you effortlessly." It was a lesson etched not just in words, but in the movement of water, the grace of a petal, the stillness of presence. And so, as the years passed, the elder monk observed a curious irony unfold before his eyes. Those who truly practiced non-attachment were often the very ones who achieved the most meaningful results. Why was that? Because their freedom from obsession gave them something rare: clarity. And with clarity came creativity, joy, and effortless action. They approached challenges not as burdens to conquer, but as opportunities to explore, without fear of failure, without pressure to prove. One of the most striking examples came from a humble potter in a nearby village. For years, the potter had struggled in frustration, trying desperately to shape the perfect vase. No matter how much effort he poured in, the clay seemed to betray him, collapsing, cracking, or turning out flawed. Then, after hearing the monk's teachings on letting go, he decided to change his approach. Instead of striving for perfection, he entered his studio with a new mindset, one of playfulness and curiosity. He allowed his hands to move freely, shaping the clay not with anxiety, but with joy. And to his surprise, something shifted. His creations became more beautiful, more expressive. People began to notice. Soon, his pottery was celebrated across the region for its elegance and soul. When asked about his transformation, the potter simply said, "I stopped trying to make the perfect vase. I started enjoying the process of shaping the clay. And when I let go, perfection found me." That night, under a sky filled with stars, the elder monk gathered his students and shared what he called his deepest insight. "The universe," he said, "has its own rhythm, far wiser and greater than anything we can comprehend. When you release your attachment to how things should turn out, you begin to move in harmony with that rhythm." He looked around the quiet circle. "Results," he continued, "don't come from force. They come from alignment with life's natural flow." One student, concerned, raised his hand. "But Master, what if the results we hope for never arrive?" The elder monk smiled gently and replied, "Then perhaps those results are not what you truly need. Life may not always give us what we want, but it unfailingly gives us what we need. For our growth, for our wisdom, for our happiness. Trust the universe. Its wisdom reaches far beyond our grasp." He then spoke of another key to letting go: patience. He often compared it to planting a tree. When you place a seed in the soil, he said, you don't hover over it, demanding it to grow. You water it, you give it light, and then you trust. Eventually, the tree rises, tall, strong, and full of life, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. This image touched many of his students deeply. They began to understand that even when results seemed slow, their efforts were never wasted. Like the roots of a tree growing silently underground, change was always happening in its own time. As the monk entered the final years of his life, he reflected on his own path. He realized that letting go was never about doing less or caring less. It was about living more gracefully, more freely, with joy. He gathered his students for one final teaching and said, "Life is a river. If you swim against the current, you will exhaust yourself and go nowhere. But if you surrender to the flow, the river will carry you effortlessly to your destination. Trust the river, trust life, and most importantly, trust yourself. Let go, and you will discover that everything you've ever sought has always been within you." His students carried these words in their hearts, passing them from generation to generation. And so the legacy of the elder monk lived on, not as a doctrine, but as a gentle reminder in a noisy world. True peace and fulfillment are not found in grasping, but in releasing. Not in striving harder, but in surrendering more deeply. Once you stop chasing, results begin to come. Thank you for joining this journey of wisdom and stillness. If you found value in this story, don't forget to subscribe to Buddhism Seeds by clicking the button below and hitting the bell icon so you'll never miss a new video. And if the story touched you, feel free to like, share, or leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what resonated with you most. See you in the next video.